Here's an Action 5 news report to help set the scene.
The Sheriff's Department wants you to be on the lookout for local missing person, wealthy businessman William S. Kubrick IV, who was last seen driving a black Porsche with a teenaged girl as a passenger on Friday, April the 13th, leaving this area. If you have seen or know anything, please call 911 or 281-554-6655. This is Wendy Bird, Action 5 News. Back to you, Humbert.
The following
The overall tone, the mood, the sleekness of it, the intrigue, and also the I think that salaciousness and it not glamorizing crime, but building up anticipation about crime is what draws me into the show, and it drew me into this piece because it felt so familiar, but also had a little wink and a nod to it. And I love that humor at the end. I thought that was really effective at kind of diffusing the salaciousness and reminding us it's not all real. But I thought the commitment to the tone was sharp, spot on.
To poke fun at the male gaze in true crime podcasting while also serving as a commentary about who are the criminals and the perpetrators. And in this short, we see like reenactments, and it seems like the real victim is Lolita, who has had to deal with all these like very creepy, predatory men consistently. But the way that she and the women in this short are portrayed as sort of like ruthless opportunists, while the men are these like victims of these women's extractiveness, was really, I feel like, powerful for me, and a way to sort of address this narrative that sort of like criminalizes women in this way. And so for me, it was a really smart short that serves not only as a commentary on the true crime genre, but also a short that serves as a commentary about patriarchy and misogyny, and how we tell the narrative of true crime stories and the nuances there of who are the victims and who are the perpetrators.
So I like the incorporation, the story, of the story being set up as a new story. I think it's a clever way to guide the story and guide the viewer, as opposed to the typical voice of God narration technique. I like how the different types of men are presented and how it paints a picture of these different types of encounter that the main character has. I like how there is an ode to true crime and how the typical crime dramas are told, and this is a more entertaining version of the series.
I love that this framing technique, and I'd love to see more episodes from them using the same technique. It was a great way of having that narration in there organically, and I think the narration worked really well. The performance of that was done very entertainingly. I love the femme fatale of the Lolita character, and I also love that she did everything just for a Louis Vuitton backpack. Female assassins who aren't I'll say female assassins who embrace their femininity and, are killing people for shopping. I just find that concept comical, and I love seeing it. So I appreciated that here. Overall, great narration, great framing technique, and I loved our main character, Lolita. Her fashion choices, her motivations, just her character in general, I would love to see in another film.
How it manages to subvert your expectations, kind of with what we know about kind of what we're taught about, like the dangers of, stranger danger. We look at this scene and we see the men in cars as the predator and the Lone Star Lolita as the victim or the prey, when in reality the roles have been flipped this entire time, and it's actually these men in cars who are in danger. And I find that really interesting because you don't really the twist works because it takes advantage of your perceived assumptions about how this is going to turn out. Um, and once that role reversal comes, it's a very surprising, but again, very effective twist.
I loved what they did with it. Everything felt very organic, like the news broadcast. You really felt like you were watching a news broadcast. All of the actors in this, I think, did a fantastic job. They were all very real, very believable. I loved how they were doing it as kind of a podcast, and you got to see the podcast person there. I thought that that was really clever. Music was great too, added that sense of mystery, that sense of suspense. Yeah. And what they did with the recreations, all of the actors did such a great job. And I loved the camera work too. They did some really creative camera stuff.
We see this crime, this young woman, this Lolita, that is basically just jumping in cars with unknown male. But although we think that maybe they could be the villains in the story, but in the end, turns out she's the villain. She's the one killing them. I think it was a very great an exciting mystery to follow until the final shocking revelation. So on top of great direction and cinematography, I think this was a very well done show.